I'm BJ Arnett, and this is This Day with BJ Arnett. You kind of caught me a little bit off guard because I've been in this great discussion with Ray Brashear about education. She and I both are the kind of women that you don't want to meet if you're not about really educating, because we're going to shake you up, and we like it, okay? So we're going to try to be nice, but it may not work.
You know me so well. Oh,
yeah, I mean, I'm done. Our children are in desperate need of an enthusiasm for education, an enthusiasm for learning.
Yes.
But if the teachers are not enthusiastic, if the teachers don't have a roadmap that really works.
Yeah, I think the teachers are enthusiastic. I think it's the system that has regulated so much and tied up the hands
and don't allow you.
They don't allow you. So I've always trained as a Montessori teacher. I have been able to choose my children's education purposely for what they needed at that time, and luckily we're blessed here to have a lot of options. But that was something that I found challenging at times, because you have to make compromises in some areas. And so finding out that education is more than just about curriculum imparting knowledge. What I really think is important is cognition. And the capacity to build education. The capacity for learning is really where I think we're missing the boat.
I like something that you said to me a few minutes ago, is that when you walk into the classroom, you're able to see, assess. You can see through the body language of a child how they're sitting, how they're standing, how they're moving. I love it when I'm about to ask, and it seems like they know. I'm about to say, I'd like 3 people to stand and say this. And the whole, you can see bodies just cave in. They're trying to hide. I'm reading, anything to keep, but then there's the ones who are a little bit nervous. They're fidgeting. There's something internally going on that's not the average. Speak to us about what you see when you walk into a classroom.
Wow, okay, this is a big topic. And so we talk about the social body language, about being nervous and those kinds of things. But I can go even deeper and look at the neurodevelopmental body language and why they would be that way, which is a much deeper level. You know, why when you ask someone, can they not listen to you? Why do they have to fidget? What are they having to pay attention to that they can't pay attention to you? And that's where we get back into the developmental components of how education is not serving our children, because we've taken a lot of the movement out of education, especially in the early grades, especially in the early years.
So are you speaking of physical movement?
Yes.
You mean it's not okay to take away physical education?
No, it's not.
I'm laugh when I even say it, because it's ridiculous.
It is.
It's ridiculous to take away music.
It is. That's
and dance and athletics.
That is what I had to go back and do with my son. I had to run him, the Handle program taught me the progressive developmental movement patterns that were going to replicate the neural pathways that somehow he missed. And knowing the progression of how those develop and knowing how to work him through that gave him the healing he needed to have to be able to function.
So how as a parent do we identify that this child simply needs someone to focus on putting 2 patterns together?
So it takes some understanding of what you're looking for. And so we have the checklists you get from your pediatrician and are available on websites, and those are indicators of gross motor patterns and fine motor patterns that they're supposed to do by certain ages. And so those are good starting points.
But those are also those things that label our children to not be their best sometime. So I hit a nerve. How do I get around that?
You just have to look at the holistic picture of what's happening internally, externally, and understanding when there's a pattern of resistance or over-existence or what have you is going on, you can begin to see where there might be a need and begin to chart those things.
So you're looking for your child's own rhythm.
Yes.
And it may not look like anyone else's.
It may not. May not.
Help us more.
Oh, golly. So every parent kind of knows, you know, with that mother. See, so let's back a little bit. I knew by about 9 months there was something I didn't understand, but I kept watching because the other kids didn't do these same kind of things. By age 2, the doctor was telling me, oh, he didn't babble, that's okay. And I thought, no, it's not okay. That's not okay. And I think well-meaning people who are trained to understand things forget that we're moms, and
we see things.
We see things, and I'm with my child 24/7. You have a 10-minute appointment in your office, and you're on to the next, and it's impossible to bring all this information in. But I kept pushing, and I kept pushing, and I kept looking. And then when I just had to follow my intuition, because I think that was God-given.
Yeah. You know, I always say that the unction of the Lord is so strong if you will simply be available to getting that unction. It could be that soft, quiet voice, that nudge in the right direction. Sometimes I can literally hear God say to me, do this.
BJ, we've been helpmates with God. We have created life together.
Together.
So the fact that he would have left that handiwork and walked away and not given you the tools necessary.
Doesn't make sense.
No. So people, when you talk to me a little bit, you wonder what my credentials are, and I just say, you know what, I have a lot of things, but mostly I have an MOM, and that speaks volumes.
I love it.
Well, it's so true. There's nothing that you can really learn in a university that would ever help you be a mother.
No.
You just have to understand.
No.
If you're partnering with God, he's going to give you everything you need, and if you don't have the answer now, press in. Press in, because God is raising up people. God is raising up women and men who care about this in such a unique time right now. Never before. We know so much more about the brain, and it's time to bring that information into so many other areas, and I think education needs to have a big dose of what we're learning about, because we're trying to create the brain, but we're not understanding the brain.
You know, it's interesting in that we go through this period of, especially as new parents, we read everything. By the time we get to child number 2, we get the fact that the book really doesn't tell you a whole lot. You've got to really delve into that child.
It's your mom tribe.
It is your mom tribe. I learned
so
more from calling aunties, grandmas, other moms who had children my child's age than any book I could have read. But one of the things that I think what you are speaking of really gets my attention is this understanding of studying your child and then even communicating with your child. And how we communicate as moms.
That is so true. And so when David was successful and did not need me as much as he did, I had gained so much knowledge. I thought, I got other moms that need to know this.
Totally.
And so my dad said, you should write a book. You should, you know, so other mothers don't have to follow that path. And I thought, nope, I'm going to build a school. And so that's what led me to create my pilot school, I guess you will. I found some other moms who were as passionate as I was about this, who were also learning about the Handle method, and we created Morning Star Montessori School, operated in Marietta for about 5 years in my church, and see, Jesus is a bright morning star.
Yes.
And so we used that name, and starfish was our emblem. And there's that famous story of the starfish on the beach, and you toss one back, and you can't make a difference for them all, but you can for that one. And so the children that came to the school taught me so much, and I'm forever indebted to those moms who trusted me. But I tell you what, each of those moms came because no one else could understand them trying to understand their child. And I think that was one of the biggest draws, when they found another mom who not only understood it, but had walked it, created it.
If you had, you know, you have the opportunity right now in the next 3 minutes to say to moms what you think they need in this time, in this day, in order to get their child from level 1 to level 2000.
Gosh, you know, I guess it kind of depends upon where you are living, because every area has a different amount of resources.
So you have to do your own investigation.
You really do. Thankfully, the internet and the web is available.
Yes.
And you can type in almost any topic, any label you've been given by your doctor, or anything you've been told by a therapist. You can type in and you can see more about that. So reach out, continue to search. There are people who know, and you may have to go outside the traditional boundaries. I'll tell you, my insurance company didn't cover most of what David's therapies were.
Yes.
And that was okay. Eventually, I was mad because and then I thought, what a blessing. I'm not tied. I can go wherever my son needs.
I can do whatever I need to do.
And that freed me.
Yeah.
And I stopped fighting the system, and I just took the closed doors as a blessing to move in a new direction, and I could just follow. And I didn't have to be tied to what they were offering. I could get what I needed.
How do people get in touch with you?
Well, I am currently in Thomasville, Georgia, and I am the Montessori teacher at Thomasville Christian School. So you can reach me at the school, and as I'm transitioning from Atlanta, I'll get my private therapy practice back up again. But school right now is where you can find me.
It is one thing to have an office to go to and have people come visit you in an office, but it's a whole nother thing when you're able to come speak to groups and speak to women one-on-one. And I know that there are things that parents go through that they will never ever say in the schoolroom environment.
Right.
But let that be that parent-teacher conference or that time that's kind of outside of the classroom environment where they can say to you, this is what I'm experiencing, can you help? It's so important.
It is.
Thank you for being available.
Oh, my pleasure, BJ.
That's what makes, I love how you said mom tribe, because it really is somewhat of a tribe, because we do call each other. We do, when I was about to become an empty nester, I called other moms and said, okay, I'm having a moment. I can't stand this.
I'm having that moment now.
Yeah, it's... Okay, we'll talk.
Oh,
we'll
thanks,
talk,
BJ.
'cause it's a moment. But you have something, you've hit on something that is God-given and tremendous. Thank you for being, as I said, available, but also transparent, because it is by the word of our testimony that others might be delivered, that others will be set free, that others will have a pattern to follow.
I feel like there's a cloud of witnesses up here. I could call them by name. Evelyn and Cynthia and Heather and so many, and Lynn, I mean, Jory. I have so many moms that walk this with me. I want to say thanks to them in some cosmic way right now, that God is going to bless them. But there's no one that ever is alone.
Yeah.
And so
That's
me
pretty cool.
being here is just a witness that there are other moms like me doing it too. Find those moms, because you're going to find your tribe.
I love it. You know, there's times when we want to be very, very private, and we're a little embarrassed that we don't know, or we're just don't know how to pull the words to say, I need help. Pull them. Turn to another mom and say, do you know anyone who has a child that is experiencing this? Have you ever seen this? Pick your safe zone, however. Pick those who are wiser in the Word, who have an understanding of God's calling, and who have an understanding of how to help you according to the way God has given. I hope you've been blessed today. I most certainly have been. It is about our children, and it is about you. So stay tuned. We've got more. I'm BJ Arnett. This is This Day. We'll be back another day. God bless.